Just a couple bad weather fans representing New York, talking all things sports. Man, what could go wrong? We got Alex, who's a fan of the Knicks, and Mike of the Nets. The yin-yang of the tri-state, place your bets on the Yankees, Giants, Mets, or Jets. Yeah, you should listen if they're sparking your interest. If you made a vow to your team, don't break it. Bad weather fans is the relation.
That's right. This is Bad Weather Fans, episode number 175. Mike Biseglia, Alex Benezowitz. And the Brooklyn Nets and the New York Knicks are no longer in the playoffs. But if you're listening to this podcast, you probably knew that already. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see Alex got a lot more handsome. Spen Harris is in. He's with Fireside Nets. He's filling in for my guy, Alex. This evening, as we talk a little NBA Finals, we'll talk some Nets, we'll talk some Knicks. And we'll get ready for another offseason. But Spen, thanks for coming on. I know a lot of Net fans know you from your great Net podcast. For the Knicks fans that don't, listen to him. Maybe you won't hate him. I think he's a Nets fan that Knicks fans would like. You might even like him more than Alex, actually, after listening to his takes. I don't know. Not as controversial with the Knicks takes. But Spen, how are you doing?
Listen, I couldn't be better. It's been a dream of mine to come on this show for about the last year. I've been sort of marking on my calendar every week. When are the guys going to ask me to come on? And I've had Alex on my Nets podcast. I've had you on my Nets podcast numerous times. So I'm just grateful for the opportunity. You guys have had some incredible guests on this show, the likes of Tracy McGrady, Richard Jefferson. I mean, the list goes on and on, but I'm honored to be able to join that list tonight and finally get my shot at Bad Weather Fans.
I appreciate that. I'm working on a guest right now. Alex and I are working on a guest right now that I'm hoping for, but I don't want to jinx it, but we'll see. But Spen, maybe you'll be the guy before that guest and people remember you more. That's how I'm viewing it. You having fun this offseason, Googling Damian Lillard every 3 seconds?
Yeah, I'm loving it. And I'm totally cool to be that guy before you guys get the big guest. Everybody remembers the Chicago Bulls best player before Michael Jordan, right? Everybody remembers that guy.
Mm-hmm. That's you.
That's me. I'm that guy. So yeah, been a fun off season if you're a Nets fan. Look, I mean, these aren't the dog days of Brooklyn where we're not the talk of the town anymore. Even post KD and Kyrie, we've still gotten some chatter around the NBA. The Nets still get some buzz. I don't know if you want to call it the post KD Kyrie effect, but we don't have superstars. We don't have drama, yet people still talk about the Brooklyn Nets. So it's just nice to still be in the conversation, even though we're out of the playoffs.
And I wish they were in the playoffs and in the finals right now. You've got the Miami Heat and the Denver Nuggets. And I told myself going into the series, I was going to root for one team. And I have found myself rooting for the complete opposite team. I have found myself just in love with the Miami Heat. I have to be completely honest. I am rooting for them to win the NBA championship. I thought, it's the Heat, Eastern Conference. They've won all these titles in the past, Heat culture, bleh. But I found myself becoming extremely turned on by Jimmy Butler's play. Watching Bam Adebayo, watching, everybody that hasn't been drafted is on Miami. Right now, they don't accept players unless they were undrafted. I have found myself rooting hard for the Miami Heat. I don't think they're going to win the series. But I came in going, oh, you got Jeff Green and Bruce Brown and Nikola Jokic is so cool. And, no one gives him respect. And I'm just like, Heat culture. I want the Heat to win. And I did not expect myself to feel that way, but I'm 100% with that attitude.
I couldn't be more in the opposite direction, and I'll tell you why. It's not just Jeff Green and Bruce Brown, whom I adore, who I wish were still donning the Brooklyn Nets uniforms. I mean, those were two guys who were awesome for our team. Jeff Green in that series against the Bucks, I think in Game 5, he was our second best player. Yeah. Bruce Brown had his moments. So I love those two guys. But all that aside, I'm pulling for the Nuggets, and here's why. The Nuggets have been the best team in the Western Conference the entire season. They handled business in the playoffs to get to this point. I want to, and, Jokic wasn't the MVP this year. He won the last two seasons, the MVP. I want to see the best team in the league finish the job. The Miami Heat got in. They lost their first play-in game to Atlanta. They beat the Bulls. They get in as the 8th seed. Yeah, what they did against Milwaukee and what they did against Boston was insane. And just, underdog mentality. Boston in 7 with Milwaukee. I think they beat in 5.
Knicks in 6.
Knicks and I'm not even counting the Knicks because that kind of seemed inevitable. I think most people watching that series thought the Heat would win, but the Heat just haven't been that great in the regular season. And I applaud them for this postseason run, but this is the Nuggets' title to lose. They've been the team. They have the best player in the world. Win the title so I can compare you to the Golden State Warriors from a few years ago. We can talk about the potential of being a dynasty because they're very young, the Denver Nuggets. And, Jimmy Butler loses another finals, but he still gets the acclaim and the glory of being that dude. That's how I'm feeling about this finals.
That's how I thought I was going to go into this. And the Heat are from the East. And, let's not forget Kevin Durant got hurt versus the Heat. Not that would have mattered because inevitably he would have gotten hurt at another time, like when he was in Phoenix at the layup line. Things can happen. But I'm watching this series and I'm just enamored with the way they play. And I also think in the back of my head, and I don't hate I guess I do hate the Knicks this much. I mean, when you think of the 8th seed in NBA playoff runs, it's synonymous with the Knicks in 99 when they got all the way to the NBA finals and lost to the Spurs. And I don't think until now you could say there was an 8th seed that had this kind of run or was this good. It was the Knicks and nobody else. But if the Nuggets, which are at a 1-1 with the Heat now, with a 1-1 standstill with the Nuggets, if Miami takes another game or, somehow wins this series, I mean, it's not even comparable to then say like, oh, the Knicks are the greatest 8th seed ever. That title changes and it goes to the Miami Heat. And it makes me feel good that that's something else that Knicks fans, they cherish. That NBA finals run, the LJ 4-point play, all of that, which I believe we just came up on the 25-year anniversary to make you feel real old, Knicks fans, how long it's been. That to me is something else that I'm rooting for. I'm like, we can have the Knicks, not that it takes away from the moments from the fans. And I'm being sarcastic here. Of course, that's a great, great run and moment in Knicks history. But I do sort of like the idea that the Miami Heat become the greatest 8th seed of all time.
Well, the flip side to your rationale is if the Heat win the championship, then Knicks fans can say, "Oh, I mean, we lost to the eventual champion.
Yeah,
we're not really that far off. If we win a game or two more in that series, we probably beat Boston, and then we probably handle the Nuggets like the Heat did. See, if the Heat lose, then the Knicks lost to an 8th seed that overachieved."
Yeah, but that's a hypothetical game for Knicks fans, and I'll let them play those mind games all day with themselves. But in all seriousness, I am rooting for the Heat because I want to see this run continue. I like this idea of guys that were undrafted that have come in and played well in this Heat system and have been phenomenal. I love the idea of that, and it's funny because I think it's an instinctual thing, right, Spen? You can tell yourself, oh, I'm rooting for this team. Oh, I'm rooting for that team. But I sometimes think until they start playing, you don't really know how you're going to feel. And then you kind of make a decision based on what you're watching. I went and going, I think I want the Nuggets to win this. And I think I may have said on this podcast, I wasn't sure. But I see the Heat now, and I am fully blown, like rooting for Kyle Lowry to make 18-footers all night long.
Oh, my God. Kyle Lowry, net killer. Now, let me ask you this. Outside of Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo, who are the two clear-cut leaders on this team, they bring it most nights, defensively, offensively. Adebayo, in certain ways, has been more important than Butler in this series. But outside of those two guys, who is your next favorite player on the Heat to watch?
Boy, where do my favorite player on the man? I'm just thinking of. I do enjoy, also, can I pick the coach? Can I just pick Spo? Because he's just been perfect. And like you bring Kevin Love back into the lineup and it helps out and they make some solid plays there. Probably Caleb Martin. I've enjoyed his play all playoff longs, even especially in that Celtic series. He was just phenomenal. Putting the dagger in Miami. I'll go with that. Is that an acceptable answer for you?
Yeah, I think that's fine. He hasn't been great in this final series. I think he had 3 points in game
But
two.
but
I don't know
that's
what he had in game one.
but that's the thing about this team is it's like interchangeable guys. Where like, is Tyler Hero now going to come in? Are we going to see
Right.
him at some point? And I think that's a big question mark. Does Coach Spo go to him because you don't want to break up what this good chemistry has been? I think I would. I think I would go the wild card play if you're going to go all out and win a title. I think the risk is worth the reward if he's not rusty, and if he sucks, don't play him again. That's what I would do on that front. How about you?
I think I'd keep things as is. And I say that because the amount of confidence that these role players on Miami are playing with right now. So I am programmed. And I think as fans, we're all programmed when we hear the word role players and playoffs and the finals. Role players play better at home, right? That's always the thought process. The fact that Max Strus and Duncan Robinson and Gabe Vincent were all phenomenal in game two in Denver, you rarely see three guys, and I know Vincent's a starter and Strus is a starter, but
I know what you mean.
three role players all just play that well and that confidently on the road. So that to me was a shock. And that's why, I mean, Duncan comes in the fourth quarter in game two. He gives you 10 points. He mean mugs, the entire Nuggets team. And I love that the camera got that. You're going to get mean mugged by Duncan Robinson. You got some things to talk about after the game. But I forget where I was going with that. I just look at the Heat and I think
The home road splits. The home road.
well, yeah, exactly.
But that's been the Miami Heat team for the last 3 series. These guys go home road and they still play great. And Jimmy Butler hasn't had the best games. I mean, he hasn't been exactly like A+ superstar, and that they're still getting this kind of performance to me has been spectacular to watch. And I'm, like I said, I am rooting hard for that to happen. You and I seem to have very different philosophies here so far early on Bad Weather Fans, episode 175, filling in for Alex B. Rooting for the Nuggets, having a different philosophy on Tyler Hero. I mean, where else are we different here? I mean, do you want the Nets to trade for Damian Lillard?
Is Scoot Henderson not on the table?
I mean, I don't think so. I don't. Well, let me read this Damian Lillard quote, and
Let's hear it.
Thank you for getting this. This was on the Last Stand podcast. This is Damian Lillard. He said, "I want to have an opportunity to win in Portland. We got an opportunity, asset wise, to build a team that can compete. If we can't do that, then it's a separate conversation we would have to have." That's a very ambiguous quote right there, because it starts off by saying like, he's staying, and then it ends with saying, well, not if things don't go according to plan. I said this last week with Alex. Just going to be completely honest. I'm never going to see a Nets title in my life. Like, that's just not happening. Like, I'm throwing out that idea. The Nets had all this talent, they couldn't do it. How is this ever? It's never going to happen. Okay. And this goes against everything I've said on this podcast. It makes me a complete hypocrite. But I think my mentality has changed from the torture that was the Nets' big three. I'm good with like Lillard, Bridges, and whatever they figure out. They win 47 to 50 games, 46 to 48 games. They make a second round, and we just had like a normal good year, and we call it a day, and it doesn't impact my brain. And they lose in the second round to the Bucks. And it's just like a regular, better than average basketball team. And that's why I'm cool with getting Lillard. As sick as that sounds. I'm just going to be completely honest about it.
So in a perfect world, I would love to just rebuild completely. I hate to admit that, but if you're the Brooklyn Nets and you're able to get Scoot Henderson, you're able to make that deal, and if you have to give up Mikal Bridges, so be it. Now, here's the actual facts. Joe Tsai and the Nets do not want to trade Mikal Bridges. They're going to try to build around him. So in that case, you have some young talent on this team. You have a guy in Nick Claxton. You have a guy in Ben Simmons. You might want to offer them in some of these first-round picks in a trade for Damian Lillard, like you said, to just maximize Mikal Bridges' production. You're going to sign Cam Johnson. Hopefully, you bring in Damian Lillard. That's a nice, three-piece offensively there for Brooklyn. But if they do that, then Mike, my mentality is I'm going all in, and I am going to just scream at the top of my lungs, at the top of a mountain. This team is winning in my lifetime, in Mike's lifetime. They're going to figure it out. No way Joe Tsai puts this much faith in Sean Marks over this amount of time to not come out on top in the end. Something tells me that the new look Nets post KD and Kyrie, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with these next few years. And I really, after watching what Bridges did in the second half of the season, watching his enthusiasm, his happiness being here, the interviews he does, he is going to attract guys like Damian Lillard. And that is going to attract more and more guys to continue to want to come to Brooklyn and play. So listen, I love it. If the Trailblazers want to go in that rebuilding direction, and I think all signs point to them doing that and keeping the third pick in the draft and dealing Lillard, why not the Nets? Why can't we have another shot with a younger, older dynamic? I'm all for it. And I think that this team would be a championship contender in the East. I really do.
I don't see him as a championship contender unless they're able to pull off a third player to come here. To me, it's just not good enough. The East is wide open. We've seen the Heat are in the NBA Finals. Knicks get to the second round with a very good roster. Bucks, Celtics, Sixers in limbo a little bit, but still very good. I just don't see the Nets getting a title with that group, but I'm still okay with it. Unless there's a third piece that could somehow come here. I know everybody, I love this report about the Knicks, right? Saying they've got one eye open, checking on the situation with Embiid in Philly. They're monitoring that to see if something happens, if they should make a move. That report to me, I could not believe how stupid that sounds. I would assume so, there's rumblings that Embiid wants out. We won't look at it. Of course you're interested to hear. So that to me, I don't think the Sixers are dealing Embiid to the Knicks, but that to me is why is that even a report, right? It'd be like if you were single and there was a girl that you've always been interested in and her and her boyfriend were starting to have a little bit of turmoil. You wouldn't, you're like, maybe I'll creep up on that Instagram feed and see what's going on. Let me creep up on that Facebook feed and what's going on. Of course you'd be monitoring it. I'm not saying you'd go in and, try to break up their relationship, but you would keep an eye on what was going on. If you're like, oh my God, Sydney's free, I'm going to make my move.
Yeah, and usually the guy who does the creeping rarely ends up with the girl. Right. She usually tests the waters. She ends up going back to her boyfriend she had problems with. And then the guy who did the initial creeping, he's left, lonely and watching a movie at 10 p.m. on a Friday night by himself. I don't know. That's a weird report. Why, who leaks that? Right. Does Leon Rose say, hey, I'm interested in Joel Embiid? Leak that information. Come on. What are we doing here?
By the way, nothing sounds better to me right now than watching a movie by myself at 10 p.m. on a Friday. I'll say it right now. With two little ones running around, well, one can't walk, but that sounds amazing to me. A Friday night movie, 10 p.m. What would you pop in your VCR? Because I know you're a big VHS guy.
So I'm a huge Broken Lizards fan. Any movie that those guys put out, I'm watching. We can go Club Dread. We can go Beer Fest. But for me personally, I'm going to go the classic. I'll go Super Troopers. And you know what? If I'm feeling frisky, I'll watch the second one right after that, even though it wasn't as good.
And what are we ordering for food? And people that don't know this, Spen and I text probably more about food than the Nets.
Yeah, I
would say 9 out of 10.
Food disappoints me a lot less than the Brooklyn Nets do. Right? If I order food, I usually know it's going to be good when I get it.
Right.
That night, I'm probably going. There's a place called Zalim in Englewood, New Jersey. They do a delicious Nashville hot chicken sandwich. So I'm probably ordering that medium level spice. I can't do the hot, like the hot's too much, but medium is pretty good. And I'll get a smash burger on the side, $7-8, a little minced onions, some cheddar cheese on that. And they serve smash burgers at this place too, and some fries, and call it a night.
I love, there's a lot of people that I would ask that question. They go, oh, that's a great question. Let me think about this. And it's like, no, you're like, you know what? I know the answer in seconds. I appreciate that.
I did that last Friday.
Yeah, right.
And I watched a movie, so it happened.
Do you think? Okay, we'll talk one former net here. Kyrie Irving is reportedly trying to recruit LeBron James to Dallas. No chance in hell that happens, right? LeBron James, like, first of all, two parts. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. But one, for LeBron and his legacy, I know it's all just noise, but he can't go to he can't then start to like hop to teams at the end like Shaq did. He can't pull that, right?
Could you imagine the conversation that went on, like, for this to get leaked? So what happens, right? Kyrie calls LeBron. Hey, Bron, how do you feel about taking your talents to Dallas to play with me and Luka? Bron, you there? Like, come on. What is LeBron going to say? Yeah, let me just leave AD. Let me leave the Lakers. This sort of, Kobe Bryant legacy thing that I've been doing for the past several years. Let me go play for Mark Cuban, an owner that's not going to let me make any decisions. That's, one of the, I would think Cuban's one of the more controlling owners in the NBA. It makes no sense. I think it makes Kyrie look really desperate. If you ask me, it just makes him look weak. And the funny thing is, who else is Kyrie going to try to recruit to Dallas? Who else is, and there's one guy, if you get this, I'll be impressed, but like, there's nobody else I can see Kyrie reaching out to and being like, hey, come play with me and Luka.
So there's one player that's a free agent right now, or just in general?
Someone's going to give him a really big bag, and the thought process is it's probably going to be their current employer.
You think Harden?
No, I think Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, I don't think Boston should get rid of him. I think that would be insane. I mean, they went to the finals last year. They went to Game 7 in the Eastern Conference Finals. This team has the right pieces. They got to fix a few things around it, but they've got the centerpiece. They clearly are good enough to get to the finals. They got to get over the hump. I would. Kyrie and him are definitely connections. I don't know how that could work. To get back to your original point though about, you're right, Kyrie does seem desperate, and it's even more of an eye-opening experience. Like, hey man, you've made a huge mistake. Instead of just not being a dickhead, like you could have had something in Brooklyn. I don't need to recap what happened, but it didn't work out. I think it's funny because, like, for LeBron, from just a viewpoint, would be kind of sad to me to be like, I'm now going to Dallas. But I need somebody to help me out, being next to Luka and all that the pressure that he would take off LeBron, and he could become the third best player on that team, and then would be the mentor to Kyrie, because out of all the history with Irving, he was his best version of himself with LeBron. I actually think it works from a basketball point of view, but just icky for LeBron to be like, I'm going out at Dallas to get one more title. And I think it diminishes his resume, even if he were to go to Dallas and win a championship, because it would become this end of his career team hopping when he made a commitment. And there's something said it's Cleveland, Miami, Cleveland, LA. You can't add Dallas to that. Would just be silly to say out loud.
Yeah, no, I don't see it happening. I don't think LeBron's going anywhere near Dallas. Mike, in a perfect dream world scenario, the Mavericks get no real other talent to match with Kyrie and Luka. They're an 8th or 9th seed this next year. Luka gets fed up with the organization. Kyrie ruins yet another team, and Luka demands a trade. And you know where he demands a trade to? The Brooklyn Nets.
I wouldn't be shocked if Kyrie's not even back. I mean, who says he resigns? He could blow up Dallas pretty quick. Now it's funny because you can't take anything he says seriously. So he says I'm recruiting LeBron, but by no stretch of the imagination does that mean that he's automatically staying. Anything can happen at any time. And I'm very fascinated to see where he lands this offseason. Not because I'm rooting for him or want him to succeed. I just find it fascinating after his tenure with the Nets. And he's dealt to Dallas, and when the Nets get picks back, most importantly, the unprotected one in a couple of years, Finney Smith, Spencer. I'm just kind of curious to see how that all plays out with him and what kind of contract he gets and where it is fascinates me dearly.
Yeah, I can see there being some random teams who take a chance on him. Why not? I mean, basketball wise, he's one of the most talented scoring guards in the league. I don't think that's up for debate. So if a team wants to overlook all the mishigas that took place in Brooklyn, Boston, Cleveland, and now Dallas, sure, from a basketball perspective, it makes sense to give Kyrie Irving a lot of money. But unfortunately, if you sign him, you're not just getting him as a basketball player, you're getting him as a human being as well, which we've learned is not the best addition to an organization.
You're a talented guy. Again, follow Spen on his show for Net fans and Knicks fans, Fireside Nets. I'm going to give you two topics. I want you to say one as a Nets homer, and then I want you to say it as a Knicks hater, and then vice versa on the topic. We'll start with you are a Knicks hater, and Ben Simmons is putting out Instagram videos, which he is of himself. Go ahead, Spen, who's now with Fireside Knicks.
Wait, time out. I'm a Knicks hater or I'm a Knicks fan?
I'm confusing myself here. You are a Knicks fan that's a net hater.
Net
Thank
hater.
you for clarifying that.
Yeah.
See,
No, you're good. I mean, I can go post Instagram pictures of me shirtless working out. Doesn't mean I'm going to have a good season next year, right? We've seen this from so many players, but it's getting tiresome for these Nets fans. Ben Simmons is not going to be the Ben Simmons of old. You guys are never going to see that happen. He's never going to do it. And if he does it, it's not going to be in a Nets uniform. This is fool's gold. This is treasure that isn't actually there. Give up. You're always going to be little brother and, Knicks tape.
Now you're a Net fan. You've been watching these Ben Simmons Instagram videos. Like, man, that sweat is glistening. Net homer time.
Yeah, I mean, this guy is one of the most complete basketball players minus a jump shot in the league. He rebounds, he defends at an elite level. He can pass the ball with the best of them when he's right. And he hasn't been right ever since, he got to Brooklyn. He's had injuries here and there, but this is a full off season for him. He hasn't played in a minute. He's going to get the rest and recovery he needs. He is going to come back with a vengeance. He knows everybody's talking smack about him right now. All the Knicks fans, all the Stephen A. Smiths, all the Kendrick Perkins, everybody has been pooping on Ben Simmons for the last year. Enough poop. He's coming and he's coming hard. I just hope the rest of the NBA is ready.
Now your honest opinion.
Can I curse on here?
Can you curse on here? No.
I have no freaking clue.
No, you could curse on. What do you think? Of course you could curse. You could.
I have no fucking idea, Mike.
Yeah.
When we got him, I was excited. He started playing with KD and Kyrie. He looked pretty good as a fifth option. All of a sudden,
for $35 million.
All of a sudden, our team is dismantled. He gets a little bit more added responsibilities, and his body couldn't handle it. I think he played a very, few games with McHale and these new look Nets, but
awful.
He didn't look like he fit. So I really have no idea. And him posting pictures of him working out on Instagram, it does nothing for me. Even if I start to see, the videos of him at pickup hitting shots, I can watch the Mitchell Robinson pickup videos. It's the same thing.
That was my next one. Was the Mitchell Robinson videos. And that was not pre-organized. That's what I was going to say. So we'll get to that in a second, but I'll say this about Ben Simmons. Anything that he does to me now would be a bonus. In my head, he's not even on the team. Like in my brain, he's not even on the Nets. So anything he does would be a bonus. I think it's going to be similar to last season. He's going to come out strong. You'll get frustrated. He'll have a couple good plays, and then 30, 40 games in, it'll be over again. Like, to me, it's just going to be rinse and repeat. Oh, he looked okay there. Oh, that was an okay play. But he does not, he's injury prone, and he's got some other shit to deal with when playing basketball. It's not going to work. It would be crazy to think it would.
The one thing I don't hate about the Instagram videos of him looking ripped and him getting hyped up on Twitter doesn't hurt his trade value.
No. Well, I mean, he's got to play. That means nothing for his trade value. But he's got to play. But that would be the best because he's at an all-time low right now.
Right.
At an all-time low. Okay.
Yeah.
The Mitchell Robinson threes in his pickup game videos where he's cranking threes, he can't miss. You are a Nets hater or a Knicks hater. This is really difficult for me, okay? So everybody that's listening to this, it's like, Segue, get your shit together, motherfucker. I get it, okay? Mitchell Robinson videos. You're a Nets fan that hates the Knicks. Go.
Yeah, I love it. I think that the Knicks should feature Mitchell Robinson more in their offense. Clearly, he's proven that he's a stretch five. Let him shoot, guys. This is a guy who was frustrated in the regular season because he wasn't getting enough offensive looks. He can get buckets. He's got the bad shit. Just let him loose.
Now is I sense some sarcasm there. I'm guessing, Mr. Nick Hater.
Larry David is a hero of mine.
Now, Homer Nick fan. What's your take on it?
Get in the paint, sit your ass in the paint, and show me that you can put up 20 and 10 consistently without getting hurt. Stop with the threes. And if you're going to do that and pick up, I don't want to see videos of it. That's not your game. Okay. I mean, at the end of the day, if we can get Joel Embiid and ship you off to somewhere else, we'd probably be better off. But for right now, you're our center. And I think Mitchell Robinson's pretty good. As a Knicks fan, as a Nets fan, I think he's a solid piece. But no, I don't. As a Knicks fan, I don't want to see him jacking up threes. I don't care if he hits them. Get your ass in the paint. Go to freaking, go to a training session with Hakeem Olajuwon. Work on your footwork. Work on those moves. And I'll see you next season.
There's an inside joke with Alex. We had somebody on, and I won't say who at this point, but there was like an Hakeem Olajuwon reference about like everybody goes to see Hakeem Olajuwon to get better, and we said it, him and I laughed. So I know when he listens to this, he'll really enjoy that. I know he will. Final one for you, Spen. Fireside Nets. Heat or Nuggets, and how many after 1-1? I said, I don't know if I said it on this podcast, but I said it on somebody else's. I said Nuggets in 6. That was before the series.
Yeah, that's been my pick. I picked that on Fireside, I think 2 weeks ago or whenever the finals was announced. I had Nuggets in 6. It just seems like the safest pick, right? To not give Jimmy Butler at least 2 games, it just seems a little bit disrespectful to this Miami Heat team and Coach Spo. But to think it's going to go 7, if it goes 7, I might take Miami. I don't see Denver being resilient enough to win, a game 7. But I think Denver handles it in 6. I got them splitting in Miami, and then I have Denver winning game 5 and 6.
It's a good point about like game 7. You feel so good about Miami. They're just so, like I said before, like, how do you just not love the Miami Heat? Like, it's just man crushing on them right now. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. Follow Spen on Harris, Mr. Saw 42, MARSAH 42. Give him a follow. Also, Fireside Nets. Check them out. And I really mean this for Net fans. If you're a Knick fan, listen to this. I think it's good insight from, get to hear what Net fans have to say. And of course, Net fans, if you're not knowing Spen already, please check that out. Great way to get more in touch of some of these great Net takes that we had on here tonight. So, Spen, I hope Bad Weather fans, episode 175 was everything that you thought of more. I hope all your fantasies were fulfilled. I hope you came on this show and it was everything you thought it would be.
Yeah, I just miss Alex. I mean, this was great. You're amazing, but I feel like the show is incomplete without that pesky little Knicks fan on here. Yeah. Shout out to Alex. He's been on my show and now I've been on his, but without him. So it was a pleasure. In all honesty, thank you so much for having me on. It's late on a Tuesday night, and I just love talking about this Nets team with you, and more specifically the food that I eat on a weekly basis. So this was great.
I can keep you another hour and you can stay up all night long. We can get this bitch into Wednesday if you want to.
Now there's a bed in the other room that needs my body on it in about the next 10 minutes. So this was great.
I appreciate it. This has been Bad Weather Fans, episode 175. If you're listening, make sure you follow on Apple, Spotify, leave a comment, 5 stars, and of course on YouTube. Check us out on video. You can see other interviews that we've had on, like, as Ben mentions, Tracy McGrady, Richard Jefferson, Ron Artest, Meta World Peace. That's the same guy. Channing Frye, just to name a few. So go ahead and check that out. Spen, thank you for filling in for Alex. Had a lot of fun. Appreciate it, brother. And we'll chat another time, all right?
Of course.
Awkward silence.